All right, so heart rate training, so important, especially if you have a device that can track heart rate or like a heart rate monitor, either like on your wrist, or I wear one that's right like just below like the breastbone, for instance. So whatever that you have, if you do have that heart rate monitor, it's a great training tool to help stay within those energy zones that we recently talked about in the training intensities video. So I list on here too, why do it? Why use heart rate training? Well, it's going to help. It helps stay safe and get most out of your body. It can be a struggle to know if you're in the correct intensity without a monitor, like I just mentioned. Too high a heart rate can take longer to recover from. So, if you did those sprints, those like hill sprints, and your heart rate gets to, above 200, let's say, it might take you longer to, get your heart rate back down. And it's also a good way to kind of see how fit you are. So, for instance, week 1, say you do 3 hill sprints, and each time at the top of the hill, say you do them for 10 seconds, at the top of the hill, your heart rate's at 200. You jog back down, and you kind of track how long it takes for your heart rate to get back down to, let's say, 100. And it might take like 5 minutes. If you do the same exact workout, say like week 8, but now this time it only takes 3 minutes to get your heart rate back down to 100. You can really start to see where your fitness level is based on that. And then I say too low a heart rate, and you won't see the results you're looking for. So your heart, your body's working, but you're not really training the body how it needs to train in order to get to those energy zones. You're not building stronger and larger mitochondria in the cells, and you're not gaining any more capillaries to help with that oxygenated blood flow. And then it's also it's a great way to avoid plateauing or burnout during a season, because you can always do different types of training with your heart rate. So again, if you haven't done a VO2 max test or a scientific test like that to kind of know what your maximum heart rate is, or a max heart rate, I know, for instance, my coach has told me to do 3 times 8 minutes, all out with a full recovery. So it might end up being like for instance, like an hour and a half type of run, because I'll run hard for 8 minutes and then I'll recover for like 20 minutes before I do it again. And based on that, we kind of see what my maximum heart rate is. Mine, for instance, is 195. So if I were to do this maximum heart rate, 220 minus your age, that would not work for me, because it says I'm 190 for my maximum heart rate. Same thing with this more accurate equation. So for males, it'll be 214 minus 0.8 times your age to kind of figure that out. And again, mine's a little bit higher than what this says. And then females, 209 minus 0.7 times your age. So if you don't have a way to kind of get your maximum heart rate, you can always use this formula. I would use this one down here rather than 220 minus your age. It'll be around like the same, but for instance, if you are, I think, 20 or 21 for a female, you might be around like 195 as well for your maximum heart rate. So based on that, then you can start going into your heart rate zones. Okay, well, very light, so that's going to be around those recovery runs. Okay, the warm up and the cool down. Okay, you see about 20 to 40 minutes in duration. Again, a recovery run, maybe after a race or a big workout. You're looking at 50 to 60% of that maximum heart rate. So if you're 195, obviously do 195. Or to make it easy, if your maximum heart rate's at 200, okay, well, I should be at 100 beats per minute for a very light run, and that's going to be zone 1. Light, so that's going to be like your easy state, or your steady state running with your marathon pace running. That's 60 to 70% of your maximum heart rate. Again, too, you can see long runs are usually done at this maximum, or this percentage of your maximum heart rate in that 120 minutes. Moderate, then you start getting into more so kind of like tempo type of running. That's 70-80% of your maximum heart rate. Hard and a high heart rate, 80-90%, 2 to 10 minutes. That's when you're looking at more so like intensive tempo, and a little bit more of those VO2 max stuff, and then 90 to 100% of your max heart rate in zone 5. That's when you're looking at like those hill sprints, for instance. Okay, so now I'll give you an idea too for like Ironman training. A lot of my training is within these two zones, and I spend quite a bit of time in this zone as well. But I rarely will look at these zones just because my energy contribution during a race never goes up in this intensity. So I don't want to train in this intensity because it doesn't make any sense. It's not going to do anything for my body. I'm going to hit those gray zones that I spoke earlier about in that pyramid. So again, too, it's really important to know what zone you're supposed to be training in and why you're training in that zone. Okay. And then I also list them here as well. So that very light, low intensity fat burning zone. We're going to look at RPE in a second here, but that's going to be that 2 to 4 range in the RPE, and that's based off of a 10. 10 being absolute right here, 10 being your maximum in the RPE, and 1 being extremely light. And I'll show you that the emoji scale in a second here. So again, to that zone 1, very light, like I mentioned before, recovery runs, you warm up, cool down. It's going to boost our recovery. Okay. Zone 2, we start to get a little bit more intense. That's our 4 to 5 on the RPE scale. Okay, it's still considered an easy run. Okay, but it feels like you can go on for a long time. So a lot of your long runs will be in this zone, like I mentioned up here, about the 120 minutes long. And these runs are going to target those cellular changes and stuff like that. So then moderate, we're getting to more so kind of like a tempo or half marathon pace, lactate threshold type of pace. And then that's about 5 to 7 on the RPE scale. And then here's our high heart rate in zone 4, that's where we start going to anaerobic zone. Again, to what I mentioned about Ironman training. Ironman is not anaerobic at all. Maybe very, very little, but we're more so better at burning and utilizing those fats in our body. You're getting better at using carbohydrates for energy. And so this is also important too because, we'll probably tap into this during races. You'll be in this RPE during races where you feel like you're about to die. But that's why we need to train in this zone too, so that our body becomes more efficient at knowing how to run and how to be in this zone. And then here's your maximum zone, your RPE 9 to 10. It's going to help us develop speed. Lactic acid will build up, and this is where a lot of our VO2 max and like a lactic training is in this zone. So looking at that RPE emoji scale, I gave this to people as well. Here's our 10. But pretty much if you're at a 1, you're snoozing, you're watching TV, and according to this, you're eating bonbons, or you're just taking a nap, or you're falling asleep. We'll never be in this zone 1 for any of our runs. It just doesn't make sense. I don't know why you want to be there, but yeah. Zone 2 is, again, that's where looking at here, our very light, so our fat burning zone recovery runs are going to be between 2 and 4 here. Okay, so in the blue all the way up to the green. So you're comfortable, you can maintain this pace all day long. Okay, that's probably about where you start on your long run, is a 2. And then you'll eventually probably get up to like a 4, maybe like a 5 towards the end of your long run. But again, a 3, you're still comfortable, but I'm breathing a bit harder. And a 4, I'm sweating a little bit, but I feel good. I can carry on a conversation comfortably. So again, 2, those are like your good light recovery runs, warm-ups, cool-downs, all that stuff right there. And then again, too, as we're getting into here, so your zone 2, your light, so your easy runs, a lot of your long runs, things like that, your endurance runs, you're going to be spent in that 4 to 5 range. So again, coming up here, you're just about comfortable. I'm sweating more, can still talk easily. You're giving a little wink and a thumbs up, or 2 thumbs up this time. I don't know why this should be 2 thumbs up and this should be maybe 1 thumbs up, but we'll let that go here. So again, that's your light right here, is those easy runs. You're just getting into that yellow. You can also go into so moderate. So in your easy runs, I mean, if you are in the 6 range, I mean, that's your absolute limit. You can still talk, but you're definitely sweating. Especially during the summer, you'll probably get into this zone a little bit, but no more. You should not hit into this orange zone when you're on easy runs. The 6 is going to be the max. So again, you should be at around a 5 for those easy runs. based on like your heart rate as well. Again, too, in the summer it's a little bit different. Your heart rate might be a little bit higher just because of the environment, but again, to no more than this for your easy run. Going back to our hard training, so our anaerobic zone, our RPE is 7 to 9. So that's like when we're getting into more so those endurance support runs, those like 800-meter runs, things like that, at like 10K pace. That's when we're starting to get to like the 7 to 8 range, so like in the orange, and 9 at most. So again, too, this is where we're doing our a little bit more intense, like 800s at 10K pace type of thing. We're going to be making these faces a little bit. So that's where you want to be. And then that maximum, so if we're doing like those hill sprints or things like that, which, it's not going to be a lot of time spent in this zone. That's when you're going to be, between 9 and 10. Hopefully not 10, more so in a 9, where your tongue is out and you're just like exhausted, so to speak. So again, we're not going to spend a lot, probably no time up here in 10, and definitely no time here in 1. So again, to make sure you are looking at this to make sure that you know kind of what zones that you should be in, what your description should be like. So if I'm on an easy run or a long run and I can grunt in response to your questions, you're going way too fast. You need to slow it down so that you're down here. Okay, so that's the heart rate training, and then the RPE. We're going to be looking at this when I look into your weekly plan as well. You'll see on there there's an RPE of where you should be, and this is going to coincide with this.